to
Nerding on the Dbacks. That's right. He's got a custom-made shirt with our logo on it.
for Christmas.
Yeah. All right. So, welcome back, guys. It is Christmas Day, which is a crazy time to record. But last week you were sick when we were going to do our weekly recording. And so...
It's not my fault.
Yeah. And we got a little bit of time here today. So, we're going to push this out and get an episode. And then hopefully have another episode later this week. And then we'll start getting on a regular schedule of a weekly pod after
Look out for that.
All right. And but to get started, obviously the big news, super rad.
We said it on TikTok already, but we got our guy. Well, our guy. I don't know if you guys like him or not, but it's Lourdes, the Gurriel of juniors.
That's right. We got Lourdes Gurriel Jr. It was kind of funny because Sunday the Sunday before he signed, you got a haircut in the manner of Lourdes Gurriel, which you've kind of been building your hair up to start looking like it.
Yeah,
and it still needs some growing out.
Yeah, it still needs some growing, but it's gonna get there.
But it's getting there. You got the right kind of hair, and so like 16 hours after you got your haircut, like that, we get news that Gurriel re-signs with the Diamondbacks.
It was destiny.
I think you might have had some sort of impact on making that happen. It's like a butterfly effect. So where does he fit now with Suarez on the team? I would guess he's probably the fifth hitter or right now in the lineup. Suarez batting fourth, Walker batting third, and of course Carroll and Marte in the first two spots. And I suspect that's probably how they'll open the season. He's certainly a better hitter than Moreno at this stage, and I'd also like to see him go out to right field and have Carroll move to left. Gurriel is fast enough to handle right field, and he's got a big arm. Not a huge arm, but a big arm. Carroll has got a pretty weak arm. We've talked about this on a couple occasions on the show, and we saw it take place more than once in the playoff run where Carroll was out in right field, and the opposing team just took the extra base at every opportunity that the ball went out there, taking third, taking home when they could, and having Gurriel out in right field with that extra arm strength could really take away that running game from the other team. So hopefully, I doubt they're going to do that. I imagine Carroll's probably the right fielder coming into the season again, but yeah. I'd love to see Gurriel be that right fielder and move Carroll to left.
That would definitely be interesting to see because, I feel like he's a good defender, but when it comes to just launching the ball, it's not his type.
Carroll, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like Lourdes, he's not gonna be close to Corbin on how he gets to the ball. Oh my goodness, sorry about that. How he gets to the ball fast enough, but it doesn't really matter as long as you can just launch the ball to second so they don't take the extra base.
Yeah, and third and home. Yeah. So that makes a huge difference. It's more of a difference maker. Having an arm in right field is more important, and so we'll see if they do it. I doubt they do. They didn't do it last year, not once. And Gurriel has never played an inning of right field in his MLB career, but I do think he's more than capable of doing it if they decide to. And so now, I also wanted to make one statement, and it's a correction from the last pod. I'm not sure where I saw this, but I referenced Perdomo's defense at shortstop as being not good. And I was wrong. He's actually a pretty good defender. He's got plus numbers in outs above average and defensive runs saved. So he's a good defensive shortstop. He's still not a good hitter, though. He's probably the 9 hitter in this lineup. He walks a ton, but he's 24, and if he continues on hitting the ball as weakly as he does, I don't think pitchers are going to continue to nibble around the plate. They're going to start going right at him. We've seen this time after time with players who come up and they have a good eye but no pop in their bat to accommodate that eye at the plate. And as pitchers kind of get to know the scouting report, they no longer nibble, and those guys who can't hit the ball very hard, like a Perdomo, start to struggle once they get known more by the league and they get attacked all over in the zone. And if Perdomo can't put a better swing on the ball than he has the last couple of seasons, he's going to really start to struggle. So hopefully, again, Perdomo makes a perfect utility infielder. He's a good defender at all positions. He can hit enough to not hurt you. And so at 24 years old, he actually kind of reminds me of not the same style per se, but the same type of fit as Eduardo Escobar, former Diamondbacks great might be a stretch, but he loved he loved his Fogo de Chao. Yeah, he's got. If you go search up Fogo and Eduardo Escobar, you're gonna find a crazy amount of stories. It's hilarious. Fogo power, he used to call it all the time. So anyway, I really like he looks like a young Eduardo Escobar in that he's a good solid defender everywhere. He can hit enough, and maybe he'll grow into something the way Escobar did. Because Escobar, when he was 22, 23, 24 years old, he wasn't really expected to be much. He was already up in the majors as a utility infielder, kind of like Perdomo has been. And maybe he turns it, Perdomo follows the Escobar path. Probably not to the same amount of power, but from the same amount of production. The shape will be different, but the value will be the same. So that would be awesome. I'm still kind of hoping for that in the future. So let's talk about what there is still to do. The payroll is sitting at 140 roughly right now. And that's already an all-time high for the Diamondbacks. They've said that they're going to go add another bat. That's primarily been what they've talked about. I actually would rather see them add another pitcher, but I understand them wanting to add another bat. And so before they got Gurriel and Suarez, their order was pretty left-handed heavy, but now they got a couple of righties in the middle of that order. Yeah. And getting another right-handed bat really doesn't seem all that necessary anymore. It's just kind of who's a great hitter. And frankly, a lefty might actually make more sense, because right now in their lineup, they have a plethora of left-handers on the active roster, left-handed hitters, but only one of them is truly an impact hitter. The other one that hits left-handed is a switch hitter. So you got an order of Carroll, who's a lefty. Then after that, when you're facing a right-handed pitcher, you're going to have Starling Marte, who will bat lefty, and then Walker, Suarez, Gurriel, Moreno. And if you get a DH that is also right-handed in there, you're going to have 5 right-handed batters in a row. Great against lefties, but could right-handers generally hit better against right-handed pitchers than left-handed hitters hit left-handed pitchers? Part of the reason for that is when you are batting from the opposite side, call it opposite-sided hitters, you can see the ball a little longer when the ball is coming out of the pitcher's hand. It's more visible to you when you're standing in the opposite end of the batter's box versus if you're on the same side. That ball, because of the way the pitcher's holding it, it's a little harder to see what the pitch is coming straight out of the batter's hand or the pitcher's hand.
If you're watching this on Spotify and you can't see the video, just go watch a video of like right-handed versus a right-handed pitcher, like the batter's point of view, and then do like a left-handed batter's point of view versus a right-handed pitcher.
Yeah,
it would explain it better than just hearing Chris just like be like, oh yeah, and then you do this and then this. Because like if I was listening to this podcast and I heard that, I would be like, wait, what? Wait, what are you talking about? Like, I don't understand. So
yeah. It's
I know those people.
And I know it seems silly that it makes that much of a difference, and it's only milliseconds, a few milliseconds, but those milliseconds are all that makes a huge difference in the world of baseball. And so that's where the state is right now. Then you got at the very last two spots in the lineup, you got Thomas and you got Perdomo. So thinking a right-hander or a left-hander is certainly on the table, but we're going to go ahead and review all of the free agent bats that are out there, and even a couple of potential trade targets that are have been pretty heavily talked about in the news as being available for trade. And so we're going to cover those two. I think a free agent is more likely, but a trade is possible. So the first one up at everybody in Diamondbacks land is talking about is JD Martinez. We know JD Martinez pretty well. He's a right-handed hitter. He is going to be 36 years old next season. He's projected for a $13 million contract this offseason. I've seen anywhere from 13 to 20, and he might be looking at 2 years or a year and an option. I wouldn't be surprised. He's been injured the last couple of seasons.
Yeah, I mean, at 36, that's tough to not get injured.
He's getting older, and he's a strict DH, which having someone who can play the field would be a little bit more valuable. That said, even though he's 36, he's put up a WRC plus of about 125 over the last 3 seasons combined, which is really, really impressive. And he still continues to put up excellent xWOBAs and WOBAs. He was at the 9th percentile on expected WOBA last year, which is super impressive for a DH. So he is a fantastic middle of the order bat. He's probably, I wouldn't really project him to be bad. It's funny. Steamer actually projects him. Steamer is a projection system for players, every player in Major League Baseball, and many of them that are expected to play in the minors. And it's an algorithm, and it's actually really accurate for the most part about how what kind of season players are going to have, and it normalizes them for what they've done so far, who comps are, and what their age is, injury history, and how
that kind of rhymed. Injury history, and
how the curve of performance usually works for a player like that. And so they project a 107, which I think is way too low. I would still project a 120-ish OPS or WRC plus for him, but he is a very, very good hitter. And if he's available for 1 in 13, 1 in 14, he'd be a great pickup. That would probably pretty much cap the Diamondbacks spending. And like I said, I'd really like to see them add a pitcher, even if it's just a depth piece still in the 5th spot to start the season. But he's available, and he's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, but the problem is, I feel like the one problem is that he's a right-hander, and that would put like 5 right-handers in a row, as you talked about in the first one. That'd be a little awkward, but it would still be fantastic to see him smash the ball.
Yeah, back with the Dbacks.
Yeah.
And I don't hesitate to add someone like JD Martinez to the middle of the order just because he's right-handed. He 100% would become the cleanup hitter for this team, moving Suarez down and putting Gurriel in the 6th spot, which for those of you who don't know how lineup theory works, having Gurriel in the 6th spot is really his ideal spot in the lineup because of his ability to hit as well as his speed on the bases. He's a bit of a stealing threat, but he's also just fast, so he's better at taking the extra base. So when you're batting 6th, having someone faster, specifically that can steal bases, and the 6th spot is really valuable. I know a lot of teams want stolen base threats at the first spot in the lineup, but having one at the 6th spot where you can have the guys 7, 8, 9 guys in the lineup coming up to hit him in is a really valuable trait. So I'd love to see Gurriel get moved down to 6. Hopefully it still happens. JD Martinez would be a fantastic addition. A little on the spendy side, but a fantastic addition. Then you got Justin Turner. Justin Turner is going to be 39 years old this upcoming season. He's still been hitting the ball great. He's had a WRC plus that has he's got a pretty typical aging curve over the last, I'd say, 7 seasons, where it just keeps diminishing a little bit by little bit by little bit. He's probably going to be more of like a 106, 107 WRC plus hitter. I would take him if he was left over, but with what he's looking for, he's probably looking to get himself like he opted out of a $13 million, I believe a $13 million 1-year contract with the Red Sox. So he's probably looking for more than that. I would never pay him more than that to fill in a spot. One thing he has going for him is he's rarely injured, so he's available, and that's awesome.
That's good.
But being that he can pretty much only play first base, he can stand at third, but he's not going to make you any plays. I don't see the fit with this team. Next up, we got another right-hander, the old favorite in the locker room that they picked up at the trade deadline from the Mets, Tommy Pham.
What's up, Pham?
Pham is an interesting player. He just, not even talking about him as a person, but just as a player, he has consistently his entire career underperformed his expected WOBA every single season except for one. But he's under his expected WOBA by almost 25 points for his career. That's incredible. That's rough. That means something's going on. That it has eventually used. Max Kepler is another player like that from the Twins who's constantly underperforming his expected WOBA. He didn't last season, but he has regularly. And Pham's kind of in the same boat. There are certain guys that almost every player you expect to kind of hit to their expected WOBA over a large enough sample, over enough seasons. But sometimes some guys just have something in their swing that their results don't actually match their performance. And so he's been one of those guys. He's still really good. He's projected for a 102 WRC plus with Steamer. I'd be happy to have him. He would fit if they didn't want to move Gurriel to right field. Pham can play right field and DH, and that would be a good fit. But it's not a great fit, not with the signing of Gurriel and the trade for Suarez.
Yeah, not anymore. That's bad.
Yeah, I mean he's had the same expected WOBA as JD Martinez for the last couple of seasons, but like I said, he just underperforms his expected WOBA by so much every year.
That's crazy.
That's it. He's rarely hurt. He's 36 years old. He's probably going to be the cheapest guy on this list to sign to a contract. And so if they wanted to sign him up, give him split time in right field and DH, and then put some more of that money towards getting a solid fifth starter in the rotation, I would not argue with that. That's a good use of spreading funds around. Now on to the next guy. I was going to bring up Mitch Garver. However, we woke up to news this morning that Mitch Garver, who I would have absolutely loved on this team as the DH, signed a contract with, obviously, on Christmas Day. There's only one GM who's signing players on Christmas Day, and that is Jerry Dipoto from the Seattle Mariners. I kind of, it's probably copyright, but part of me wanted to play the What Would Jerry Dipoto Do song from the Effectively Wild podcast, because I'm almost certain that they're going to be playing that when they cover the Mitch Garver signing. So he would have been great, though. The one thing, Mitch Garver's got, he's young, He signed for about what he was projected about. I think he signed for $24 million over 2 seasons, which is about what he was expected to get. And he's got a 112 WRC plus projection.
And this doesn't matter that much, but he's from my home state, New Mexico, not Mexico. A lot of people get that wrong. They're always like, "Wait, you're from Mexico? You drove all the way over here? Wait, can you say uno in Spanish?" I'm
like, so let's get back on track here. Garver. I'm not going to cover this for long, but Garver is a really interesting player in that he's got the 2 highest WRC plus seasons on this list. This entire list of players, 2 of the past 3 seasons, he's had the highest WRC plus seasons, and so and then he's also got 1 terrible season. He's constantly injured, but he is a guy, they project him for a 112. That's really splitting the middle ground. He's probably going to have like a 130, or he's going to have something under 90. He really doesn't ever have something in between. He's either amazing or he's hurt and can't perform when he's on the field. So that's Mitch Garver. He would have been a great fit as a backup catcher and DH, but that's not going to be the case. So let's move on to the next guy.
Mitch Garver.
another right-hander. This one here is Rhys Hoskins.
Whoa, what a name.
Yes, Rhys. So Rhys was a fantastic player through his first 6 seasons of Major League Baseball. Rhys is only going to be 31. However, he missed all of 2023 with an ACL tear in spring training. He's probably looking for a 2 to 3 year contract, though he might take a pillow contract. Do you know what a pillow contract is, Phoenix?
I'm guessing you sign a contract and you get a pillow with it?
They might have a pillow written into the contract, but they reference it as a pillow contract. It's also called a prove it contract. It means he's going to take he might be looking to take just a 1 year contract for a little above his value, so maybe a 1 year $16 million contract or so, to prove that he's still the same player as he was before his ACL tear. Then he can go back into free agency, because if he is that same guy that he was from 2017 to 2022, then he is almost certainly going to be able to get himself a 4 or 5 year contract in free agency. And so if he can go back into free agency after a prove it year and prove that he is that guy, it really gives him an opportunity to capitalize on his one shot at free agency and get that generational wealth changing money. And so we'll see what he does there. There is also a risk to him doing something like that with that approach. He could have a down year and have to do it again, and he's probably not going to get the same amount the next time. But for most players of his caliber, pre-injury, it's usually worth the risk to take that 1 year contract. So he might be looking for a prove it contract, which means he's going to be coming in to prove it and possibly put up the best season of his career so that he can get that big payday. His entire career has been played in Philadelphia, so that inflates offense a little bit. So his projected WRC plus is a 116, and I think 116 is probably correct, even though he's only 31. He's had a career 126. But if you take his expected WOBA, and even though expected WOBA does account for stadium effects, I personally have found that the stadium effects are not weighted strongly enough in that algorithm. So when a player is playing in an offensive friendly stadium like Philadelphia's, they're more likely to overperform their ex-WOBA. If you go and look at the Cincinnati Reds, for example, they play in the most homer-friendly stadium in Major League Baseball, and almost every player on their team overperforms their expected WOBA, and year after year. And so Philadelphia is kind of the same way, not to the same degree, but it's certainly one of the 10 most offense-friendly. A lot of seasons it's in the top 5. And then
I do wonder, why is the Cincinnati Reds homer? Why is the stadium really homer friendly?
It's got a short outfield. It's got short fences.
I thought it would be like how in football, where like in Denver, I don't
altitude.
know. The altitude is really high, so the ball just like.
Yeah. So in Colorado, which they play in Denver, the Rockies, that is an issue, but Colorado tries to make up for that by having a super big stadium. Actually, have I believe the deepest stadium in Major League Baseball, and it suppresses home runs to a degree. They're usually around 5, 6, or 7, somewhere in there, for home runs. But they have the most offense friendly because their outfield is massive. They have players there have a huge batting average. The Colorado Rockies are heavily overrepresented for National League batting titles over the last 25 years because of how big that outfield is. And when you have a bigger outfield, it's just harder for outfielders to cover all that ground and make outs. So there's a lot more grass out there to get hits in Colorado than there is in any other stadium in Major League Baseball.
Okay.
Yeah, so when the same player, going back to expected WOBA and WOBA, when the same player is in an offense suppressing stadium, they're likely to underperform their ex-WOBA. We see this a lot with like the Mets. The A's are a huge one. So that's
you can say they didn't Mets their WOBA.
That's right. They Metsed it. I mean, that is a common term in Major League Baseball. And so he's got that 116 WRC plus projection. It's probably right, circling back to Hoskins. And if he takes a 1-year contract, that would be great. Still probably a little high on the high end. It might even be priced out. He might even be priced out of the Diamondbacks payroll space, like what they're thinking for their roster spend. But he would be a really great contract to sign, or a really good player on the field. He probably is, like I said, he's probably going to sign elsewhere. He has more value elsewhere, but he can still play first base, unlike most of these guys on this list who are primarily just DH exclusively, or you almost never want to play them in the field. You really don't want to. Rhys is a perfectly fine first baseman and can even moonlight in the corner outfield. So we'll see what ends up happening. I doubt he's coming here, but would love to see him if they do end up picking him up. And then we've got the last right-handed batter on this free agent list. We got Jorge Soler. Jorge Soler, if you're out there, you remember, you've been following baseball for a while. Jorge Soler led Major League Baseball in home runs a few years ago. And the weird thing is he is all over the place. So back in 2019, he hit 48 home runs. In 2021, which he played a full season in, he only hit 27. And then in 2022, where he was hurt a little bit, he played about half of the season, and he only hit 13 home runs. That's only a 26 home run pace again. And then last season, he hit 36 home runs. Like, he is all over the place. Now, he has hit most of his career, certainly since 2017, in pretty pitcher-friendly stadiums that in particular have been hard to hit home runs in.
What stadiums are those?
So the Royals and the Marlins. So the Royals and Marlins have pretty pitcher-friendly stadiums. It's
Why are they so pitcher-friendly?
The
outfield is bigger?
I'm not sure why those stadiums. There are stadium effects. It could be weather, could be wind patterns, it could be the dimensions of the stadium. Miami's is pretty big, and Kansas City's is pretty big. So size makes an impact on them. But there are a lot of factors that go into. It could be a batter's eye, makes it more difficult than at other places to pick up the ball out of the pitcher's hands. That was a big thing. That's a big thing for the Rays. They talk about that pretty constantly. How in Tampa it's really hard to pick the ball up out of the pitcher's hands. It's likely part of the reason why Tampa's pitchers rock consistently every year. And a lot of hitters who played for the Rays, when they go on to hit elsewhere, they usually have better seasons. It's just easier to pick up the ball. So there's a lot of factors that go into it. So Soler is up and down, but when he is on his game, he's the best hitter on this list. You're taking so many chances. He's so volatile from season to season. He's rarely hurt. He does have a 119 WRC projection. I believe that's the highest on this list for the guys that are still available. And he is young-ish at just 32 years old, where a lot of these guys are 36, 37, 39. So he's probably also going to sign for a 3-year contract or longer because of the season he's just had and the potential of the seasons he's put up in the past. I just don't want to pay that freight. And so I would pass on Soler for what the cost is on the market.
Yeah.
It's just not worth it. So moving on, let's move to some lefties.
Woo!
Yeah, left-handed hitters, just like you used to be.
Yeah.
And your little brother is.
I used to be a little bit. I used to be like a little bit of a switch hitter.
Yeah.
When I played baseball.
Now you just hit right-handed.
Yeah, that's what I'm just trying to. I mean,
So,
I would love to play a switch, but
it's hard.
it's hard.
So
Martinez a freak.
all of them are. And so Brandon Belt here. Let's cover first. Brandon Belt is 36 years old as well, so same age as JD Martinez, and you'll notice with a lot of these guys, they're going to be in their late 30s. And
yeah, there's a lot of. I think every single one is in their 30s.
Yes, when you're looking at DHs, guys who are not going to play the field much but are going to spend most of their time hitting at DH, they're probably going to be older, because if they were younger, they would want to play. They would be playing in the field. So someone like Brandon Belt's probably going to get. He's left-handed. He's probably going to get $9.5 million, so very affordable. He's rarely hurt. He has also had a pretty streaky career, similar to Jorge Soler. In fact, they've got almost the same WRC plus for their careers, just a point difference. Now, the difference is, due to the aging curve, Brandon Belt is projected to just have a 106 WRC plus, which I'd probably take the over on that. He put up a 138 last year. He was incredible. Just absolutely fantastic for the Blue Jays. And Toronto is a pretty hitting suppressing stadium, so that he put up those kind of numbers for the Blue Jays is awesome. He's been in the his expected WOBA, while his WRC plus has been great, his expected WOBA has been a little rough the last couple of seasons, and that's almost certainly what Steamer is using to judge that on.
Steamer?
Yes, Steamer is projecting the WRC plus.
Oh, okay.
And so they're probably using that to project his WRC plus, is that expected WOBA. So he'd be great. He would be a fantastic fit. He's a lefty who breaks up all those righties in a row.
Yep.
He isn't going to cost much. Maybe, like I said, $9.5, $10 million on a 1-year contract. Leaves some space for a pitcher. I would love to have him. He would be terrific, and he can play some first base if needed. So he's a good fit.
All right, enough of that. Let's
All right.
let's give you a break here. So our next, oh God, why did I pick a hard name? Joc Pederson. Pederson.
Yep.
He's a left-hander. We got to go on to our left-handers.
That's right.
He's 32. He destroys right-handed pitchers. Strokers versus left-handed pitchers. I mean, that's a little out of the ordinary, because as you said before, right-handed pitchers versus right-handed hitters is pretty good, because you get to see their ball longer. So.
It's actually the other way around. So a right-handed pitcher versus a left-handed hitter, the hitter has the advantage there. But against lefties, he struggles a lot. He would be a pretty strict platoon DH. You would not want him to be in the lineup against left-handers, and you only want him. You don't want him playing anywhere in the outfield. Most likely, he could stand out in left field for an inning or two.
Yeah.
He's not going to hurt you too badly out there, but
he's rarely hurt too.
Yeah, he's rarely injured. He's almost always around. Sounds like he is a great teammate. Like everywhere he goes, teammates love him. He single-handedly made all of the stores in Atlanta super rich by wearing pearls on the field. So everybody started wearing pearls in the stands, and everybody in Atlanta, when they won their World Series a couple years back, he was on that team, and he was their catalyst in the clubhouse. So he'd probably make a great addition to the team. Yeah. That said, you would he also, because of the nature of how he needing to be a platoon hitter, he would probably give Moreno more at bats, because Moreno would then start taking the DH spot against lefties to keep his bat in the lineup. So not a terrible idea to have a platoon, but that's Joc Pederson. Like I said, smashes right-handed hitting. He is far and away against right-handed hitting. He is the best hitter on this list.
All right, we'll see you later, Joc. On to our next one, Michael Brantley. Oh my God. Jeez, I can't see the R in there.
This is actually the guy. He's 37. He missed almost all of 2023 when he did play.
But he was one of the best DHs in baseball through 2022.
That's right. He's 37. He's going to be 37 years old. This guy was an absolute steady beast of a hitter for a lot of his career, and he's played all of it with the Guardians and the Astros. And I really think that the Astros probably are not going to be re-signing him. He has had injury issues the last couple of seasons, and with the Astros' proverbial log jam in the outfield, I'm pretty sure they're not re-signing him after all his years. And so he's most likely he is a free agent. He's probably going to be available. He's had just enormously fantastic numbers. He hits right-handers really well. He's competent against lefties. This is not a Joc Pederson situation.
Yeah.
He can hit lefties decently well enough that you don't need to take him out of the lineup if you don't want to. He can also play some decent outfield. I don't know if you want to put him out there too often, just because of the injury concerns. It's best to limit his exposure out there, but he has been a consistently fantastic DH who can DH. Some of these guys on this list, they've never DH'd for a long time, and a lot of players struggle hitting as a designated hitter versus hitting while they're playing the field. And so Brantley's great at that. He's probably looking for a 1-year contract, I imagine, to reestablish value, or maybe for the rest of his career. Who knows? He reminds me a little bit of Nelson Cruz 6-7 years ago, where he resurgence is somewhere in his bag, and he would be a really, really great player. He could be cooked. He has been injured quite a bit over the past couple of seasons, and even a little bit in 2021. But he has the best offensive projection of all the players on this list, righties or lefties, for 2024. Because, like I said, he's just a great DH. Yeah. So I would, for a 1-year, $9 or $10 million contract, because he is just pretty much a straight DH, I would absolutely sign him up in a heartbeat. That's the guy I would love to see them get if they go the free agent route. So, all right. Yeah, that's all of our players that we have on the free agent market. Obviously, like I said, I'm a huge fan of Michael Brantley. I actually think them getting a lefty is probably more ideal. So I would take pretty much any of those lefties. If they do sign a righty, obviously JD Martinez is the best option there for the guys that are left and for what this team needs. So, yeah, any of those guys, Michael Brantley, Joc Pederson, JD Martinez, Brandon Belt, I'd probably put them in that order for who I'd like. But, yeah, Brantley, I would just absolutely love Brantley in this lineup if they can make that happen. And hopefully he stays healthy. So there are a couple of trade candidates also that I want to talk about. And I don't like talking about trades very often because so much of it is theoretical. And you go to any team's blog, you see bloggers writing up trades all the time for players that are just so eccentric and make almost no sense for either team. And I'm not going to get too much into what you could trade for guys because I'm not sure what it would take to get these guys. However, the two trade candidates that I do want to discuss, they are consistently rumored to be on the trading block from their teams. And so these two guys, these two trade candidate dudes, I really believe that they could get either of them. There's a really good chance both get traded this offseason. So the first one I want to discuss is Jorge Polanco. Jorge Polanco is a switch hitter. So give us another switch hitter. He'd, like most of these DHs, he'd almost certainly slot right into the four spot in the lineup. Polanco maybe would go to the 5 spot. He's only 30 years old. That's something that you can get with on the trade market or younger guys. Obviously, all the free agents, the youngest guy who was a free agent was 32, and most of them were over 35. Whereas Polanco, as a trade candidate, still only 30. He's got a $10 million contract available on him right now. So he's under control this year, and he has a $10.5 million team option for next year. So you would be getting a DH for a couple of seasons. He'd also be insurance should, unfortunately, any of your infielders go down. So if Suarez goes down, if Walker goes down, if Marte goes down, he can fill in at first, second, and third base. And solidly, he played third base second base most of last season with a little bit of third base mixed in, and he's good. He played shortstop for 5 or 6 seasons. He was the starting shortstop for the Twins, and even made an all-star team with them as shortstop. And so that said, he has been hurt a fair amount the last couple seasons. He had never went on the injured list prior to that. So up until then, he'd been great. And both of the injuries stem from an ankle. And so maybe it's a chronic issue with his ankle. I don't know. It doesn't sound like it from what the news has said about him, but could be. He's had to have surgery on it on 2 consecutive off seasons. And DH could keep his bat in the lineup more often, just like Michael Brantley with the injury issue. And like I said, he's been hurt the last couple of seasons, but despite being hurt the last couple of seasons, he's still been an incredible hitter. Absolutely incredible. He's been batting second for the Twins. He's put up a 119 and a 118 WRC plus the last 2 seasons, and a 124 the season prior to that, where he played the full season. He's still putting up expected WOBAs around 350 the last 3 seasons, and that's with playing injured quite a bit. So this dude can rake. He would be just an absolutely fantastic addition to this team. And he's got a 110 projected WRC plus for 2024 by Steamer, but his lowest WRC plus over the past 3 seasons has been 118. I just don't expect him. He's only 30 years old. If he's healthy, he's going to put up a 120, I would expect, which would put him right amongst the best on this list. The con to making any trade for any player is that versus signing a free agent. Free agents cost just money. That's all. If you trade for a player, you're going to have to it's going to cost you money and likely prospects. It's possible that the Twins aren't necessarily looking for a prospect. They're more in win now mode, along with the guy who's next on this list. So they may be able to get it done. That said, if any trade candidate out there has what's referred to as surplus value, which means he's got more value than what his contract is worth, Polanco's it. On a package of something, it's not going to take a ton, and a package of something like Blake Watson, who's a young starting pitcher prospect, not too high on their list, and Kyle Nelson, who I know Kyle Nelson looked fantastic last year out of the bullpen for the Diamondbacks, but the Twins need relief pitching, and the Diamondbacks have a very, very deep bullpen. So trading from their bullpen strength, would be a good fit. So that's kind of what I'm looking at for a trade there. And I think he would, if Polanco was a free agent on this list, I'd say 100% Polanco should be the top target. And there's no question about it. He's absolutely great. He would be such a fantastic fit with this team. So we'll see if that happens.
I think that's why he's not a free agent, because he's so great.
Yeah, he signed. I mean, he's got essentially two more years at a very low contract cost for a player at his age and his caliber. So the next trade candidate on the market is Jonathan India. Jonathan India is also just like Jorge Polanco. Jonathan India has played second base for his entire career. Well, Polanco didn't play second base his entire career, but he's played second base most of the last 4 seasons. And so Jonathan India has played second base for the Reds. He's only 27. He's only going to be 27 years old. He's ARB eligible. He's arbitration eligible, which means he's probably projected to make somewhere around $3 million this year, $6 million, and then $11 million in 3 seasons. So he's missed a decent chunk of time in his last couple seasons in the majors, and so there's a little concern about injury. He was absolutely fantastic as a rookie. I believe he won Rookie of the Year back in 2021, but he just couldn't get back to that in 2022 and 2023, and he was even a kind of a below average hitter over those 2 seasons. He's not a very good defender at all. And so this is why, even though he's played second base, he probably should be playing left field or first base, and DH is a good fit for him. He's been good over his career, but just not great. DH may help him stay healthy and keep his bat in the lineup more often. And if he's healthy, maybe he's better. Maybe what he showed in his rookie season is his true talent. He can back up third, second, first, and potentially play in the outfield even. And he's got a 106 projected WRC plus. Unlike Polanco, though, he's been a below league average hitter for the past 2 seasons. That 106 might be right, but man, you might be potentially buying low. Meaning that his value you might be able to get him for not much. I don't know what the Jonathan India belief is out there, and I wouldn't pay a lot for him because I just don't think he's a real difference maker on a team. But maybe I'm wrong. The Reds are probably looking for MLB ready starting pitchers or close to it. So I know it's a lot, but the market is. He probably cost someone like Tommy Henry, and I would not do that. Maybe Ryan Nelson, which I would consider, but Tommy Henry is just a bridge too far, and I don't think the Reds would go for Ryan Nelson. I think someone else will offer more. I don't have a lot of faith in India being able to bounce back. Red Stadium is one of the most, like we discussed, the Red Stadium is one of the most homer and offense-friendly stadiums in Major League Baseball. Frankly, his ceiling is what Jorge Polanco already is. You get him for 3 years versus Polanco you get for 2 years, and he costs less, but if you were going to trade for one of these guys, and the trade capital to get one of them was the same, I would go with Polanco. And so like I said, Polanco would be the best DH pickup that they could get out there. And if they don't go that route, I really love Michael Brantley. The Diamondbacks are in a position, I know this sounds kind of weird going for guys that have an injury history, but it's harder for a team like the Diamondbacks. We've seen the kind of contracts that have gotten signed this offseason. It's harder for a team like the Diamondbacks to go and sign the best, really good players who aren't injured very often. Those guys get a lot of money, where you are better off as a mid-market team and even a small market team signing players who can be really good but are hurt, because if they stay healthy, you can capitalize on that. The Diamondbacks don't need mid-level performers. It doesn't do them a lot of good to go and sign a mediocre hitter, and someone like Justin Turner. It just doesn't, or Tommy Pham even. It just doesn't benefit them to go and get that kind of player necessarily. That they don't raise the bar enough when they're healthy. Yes, they are really good, solid players, and they are going to be available all the time, but they aren't that much of an upgrade. Where someone like Michael Brantley or Jorge Polanco, yes, they might be injury risks in the lineup, but if they are healthy, they are a huge upgrade to your lineup and to your roster over what the alternative is.
Yeah, I feel like it's better to just know that they're gonna be mediocre and they're gonna stay healthy than a guy who's gonna smash stuffs but might get hurt. I feel like it's better to have more hope in your players, I feel.
Yes, that upside, get that ceiling, get the guy who can put up the 3-win season versus the guy who can put up a 1.5 win season. And so, and by wins, for those of you who don't know what a win is in baseball, not an on-field win, but a statistical value win. A win is calculated as what's called WAR or WARP if you're a baseball prospectus, and it's just the value of a player over a replacement player. So a replacement player would be someone like in 2023, a replacement pitcher, for example. He was probably a little better than this, but Ryan Nelson was essentially a replacement level pitcher, and that is, if we can get a pitcher who's a win better than Ryan Nelson or 2 wins better than Ryan Nelson, that projects to add 2 more wins to our season total, which is great and has a lot of value. And Ryan Nelson is a fantastic 6th or 7th pitcher to come in 2024 when they need an extra innings, give him 10, 12 starts, and that's where his best value lies, because it's when you have guys on the roster who get less than replacement level value that you start to get hurt, like the Oakland A's did last season. So that's it for our bats outlook here in episode 3. Anything more to add there, Phoenix?
Not really. I think Michael Brantley is definitely a good free agent. Also, Joc Pederson would be good as a platoon hitter.
Yeah.
And I think he would be great.
Yep.
And would absolutely destroy the right-handers.
Yeah, add some more balance to the middle of the lineup.
And a left-hander.
Yep, a left-hand hitter.
Yeah, it would definitely be.
He might take a 2-year contract, which is a little bit of a concern. I don't know that I want Joc Pederson on a 2-year contract. That said, he's only going to be 32 years old. He's been around for a long time, but he's young still. I believe he's won a couple of championships. I know he's won at least one. And his teammates rave about him as a teammate everywhere he goes, which is a cool addition to have. And so I do agree with you. I like Michael Brantley a lot. His upside for his injury risk and the cost of the contract is fantastic. JD Martinez, of course, would be great. Which one of these guys, if you had to make a prediction on which one of these guys on this list of free agents, not neither of the trade candidates, but just the free agents, which one do you think they will sign? And I guess it's 8 because Mitch Garver's off the board. So you have, to recap it, JD Martinez, Justin Turner, Tommy Pham, Rhys Hoskins, Jorge Soler, Brandon Belt, Joc Pederson, and Michael Brantley.
I want to say Joc Pederson.
Joc Pederson, huh? That's a good pick. I wouldn't be surprised at all. The guy that would surprise me most would be Justin Turner.
Yeah.
The guy that I think that they'll get is, I don't think they're going to get JD Martinez because JD Martinez is kind of viewed as the best hitter on here, and I really think that the Giants are going to go and spend whatever it takes to get the best DH in their lineup. Yeah. They need offense, and I think that's likely. And so that leaves, maybe I'm wrong about that. And I think after JD Martinez, I think Brantley is the best here. And that's the guy, if they sign any of these, I've let my feelings be known. I'd love to see them. I would just absolutely love to see them add Michael Brantley. He can play against righties, and he can hit against righties and lefties. As long as he's healthy, he's rocking out there. He's such a good addition for this team. He's probably batting 4th in this lineup. Move Suarez to 5th. Brantley's a good batting average hitter. He doesn't strike out much. That's one downside of JD Martinez, is that he strikes out a ton. And so having someone who's getting on base, who's driving in runs a little bit more, who, you've got Carroll and Marte at the top of this lineup in the number 1 and 2 spot. Having someone who can hit singles and doubles and take advantage of those guys' speed on the bases and drive them in would be incredibly valuable, because Martinez is going to hit doubles and home runs, and he's going to walk a lot, and he's going to strike out. He's not going to move guys around the bases as often as Brantley would. And so being between Walker and Suarez in the lineup, who are both big strikeout, big home run hitters, having a hitter who kind of changes it up. Gurriel's in this camp as well, batting 4th and 6th, having guys who are more base hit doubles, singles and doubles guys who can still hit you 20, 25 home runs, I think would be a nice mix with Walker and Suarez. So I just think Brantley is a better balance fit for this lineup. I actually do think that JD Martinez is probably the better hitter overall, but for the cost and for the fit, I would rather have Michael Brantley. And of course, the dream pickup is Jorge Polanco.
Yeah.
Let him back up the entire infield and play DH. He's always going to be in the lineup. He gets to bat 4th. He's much more like Michael Brantley, but as a switch hitter. But they have shockingly similar numbers over their career.
Yeah. Well, that's it for today. I hope everybody's having a Merry Christmas today and getting a bunch of presents. I know I did. And my little brother got a bunch.
What was your best present? Okay, he's just playing to the crowd now.
Yeah, I actually got a ukulele. That's really fun. Maybe it'll be part of our intro or something.
One day. That would be super fun. All right, guys.
These don't have a shop. They're not selling right now.
No,
in case you wanted one.
But one day.
Yeah, one day.
All right, guys. Merry Christmas to everyone and happy holidays. Take the time to really enjoy this free time with family and surround yourself with love. It's the best thing that you could do. And with that, Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night.
And if it's your birthday, happy birthday.
Nerding on the Dbacks! No, go ahead.
Oh, can we start over?